And we're live. So welcome everyone to Logic Apps Live August 2024. Seems like the the year is flying by. I have here with me Kent, Path, and Divya is going to join us soon. So Kent, do you want to go through our agenda? Talk a little bit about what we're going to go through today.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us once again. As usual, we're going to showcase or highlight our ISE Aviator of the month. We've also got a Logic Apps community update, which is actually happening next month. So that's something you're going to want to tune in for. And then we have some product related updates. So, first up, we've got the ISE Retirement reminder. We've got some new capabilities regarding VS Code and regeneration of managed connection keys. We've got some service bus connector updates, an exciting new feature around Logic Apps templates and monitoring dashboards. And then also we've got PowerShell inline code. So that's an announcement we're going to share with you as well. And of course, we've got Q&A. So please go ahead, add your questions, comments in the chat as we go through the session. And then we should also have some time at the end to do some live Q&A as well. All right, so first up, our ISE Aviator of the month. And so we've got Adnan Dali, who is a D365 technical and cloud solution architect. He's based out of France and works at HSO. And here is a quote that he's provided. Just regards to community involvement, and that involves sharing knowledge and seeing the positive impact it has on others, motivates me to stay active and contribute more. I couldn't agree more. Certainly, I've looked at community in a very similar manner as I look over my career. And then a tip is never stop learning and connect with professionals in the field. And I think this is another huge benefit of community and creating really a worldwide network of people that are interested in some of the same topics that you are. So thanks again for people contributing to our community. And thank you, Adnan, for all of your efforts.
Mhm. And if you didn't take a look at our newsletter yet, aka.ms/logicappsaviator/August 24, right? You're going to have that same kind of format every month, so it's easy for you to find.
Yeah, the best place to stay up to date, right there.
Exactly. All right. So Community Apps, Logic Apps Community Day is going to be next month, pretty much a month from now, right? We are super busy recording some of the videos from the community, and reminder that next month, instead of Logic Apps Live, just for 1 hour, we're going to have the community day for the pretty much the whole day. So if you wanted to have an idea of some of the topics that we're going to be discussing, we have a list of the items here. We're going to be talking about the FNO with Logic Apps, stock migration using SAP, how to use Logic Apps on a real life use case. In this case, maintenance and manufacturing, networking. So as you see, the list goes on and on. We're going to have like something from everyone, and you can see it from the list of speakers. We have like some MVPs like Matthias, Mick, and Paco, Sandro, but also we have new people from the community like Sabahat. We have Prashant Kumar. We have Sebastian that was just highlighted a while ago as one of our aviators, and some others, right? So we're going to have a really nice and a really full pack of sessions for you. So tune in. Keep an eye on our tech community blog to know more about that, and put it on your calendars for next week, for next month. Same Logic Apps time, same Logic Apps channel. For the last 2 or 3 months, I've been sounding like a broken record, right? But another reminder, and that's probably the last one before that I retired for real. ISE Retirement is in 31st of August, is about 2 days in PST, right? So after that date, you're going to experience customers that still have live environments are going to experience some outages and potential service disruption. Take a look at it like if you're on the last stretch, hopefully, or if you are working towards that, take a look at some of those resources like aka.ms/spot to standard show us how to use the export tool, and there's a really good video from our fast track team, aka.ms/ICE learn live, that gave us like a really good end-to-end showing exactly how we've been doing all of that. Don't delay, because after next week, just after the holiday in the US, we're going to be seeing some outages happening. Okay, so now let's go and talk a little bit more about some of our improvements. First one that we have today is that connection key regeneration. This was like a very old paper cut that we have on VS Code. If you're using Visual Studio Code and Azure Managed Connector, our access policy keys, that are the keys that allow the logic apps to access the connection in Azure, was created, but it was only valid for 7 days, right? This is only required on VS Code because the relative of that in the portal is the access policy created for the managed identity of the logic app. But because we are working with that without a managed identity inside VS Code, that was only valid for 7 days, and that need a manual process to regenerate. We usually were doing that like either for running an API call and getting that value, manually putting it back. A lot of customers was end up in creating new connections for that, right? So no, that was kind of quite painful for customers. So starting on version 4.5.7.6 is the latest version of this second to last. I think we had one update after that. We're doing this automatically for you. So when the extension starts, when a project starts, we're going to look at if you have any connection key that is outdated, and using the same API that used it to do it manually to regenerate that, right? And that extension is going to be doing that during your project start. So if you open a new project, we're going to take a look and see if you have any connection keys that are outdated. And we are also going to be doing that when you're going to be running the application on debug, for example. So that guarantees that even if you had like your VS Code open for a couple of days, which happens to me sometimes, and the connection key expired during that time, that you still have the ability to renew that. So let's take a quick look at how that works. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to open a file first. Just let me double check here what is the location of my project. Okay, so I opened the local settings JSON first to show an item that has been expired, right? So when you're talking about those connections, we're talking about something like this. This is a connection key for my Dataverse. Just show that this connection key is actually expired. I'm going to take my I'm just going to be using one of those JWT tokens, because in the end, that's what it is. Right, and you can see that that key expired on 8th of August. right? Let's see if I can make it that bigger, easier for us to read. There we go. 8th of August. So what I'm going to do now is, instead of opening that, I'm going to open the actual project. And take a look at what happens. It's going to take a little bit of time because it's going to load the project is going to be loading all the extensions, right? But just waited until everything loads and we can show when it when that happens. Come here to output. I'll go to Logic Apps tasks. When the extensions load, I need less extensions, but no one cannot have less extensions. Come on. Yeah. Some of our extensions are still loading. Okay. Let me just reload the window just in case, because it seems like my VS Code is not updating my activating my extensions. So just give me a minute. Come on, extensions. Okay, they are starting to update to activate. But my machine is really slow today. Yeah, so let me keep that one in place. I'll come back while those extensions update, because my machine is really slow today. You see that it's taking like 7,000 milliseconds for one of the extensions to load. Let's back to the presentation. I'll come back to that one later. Otherwise, we're going to spend too much time here. But what you're going to see when I come back to that one, we can see if the extension actually updated that connection. Okay. The other thing that we have to talk today is about the improvements on Service Bus, right? So the Service Bus in App Connector has some improvements on the latest version of the bundle, and for that, we created a new version of the connector that is taking advantage of the latest version of the Service Bus SDK, right? We now have new triggers and actions specific for queue and triggers. And on those new, for queues and topics, I had a typo there. So on that, we're removing networking and affinity requirements for any kind of trigger or any kind of resource that is not a session-based operation, right? So that is quite important. Like the session-based operations still have the same requirements for networking and affinity that we had before. But if you're not using sessions, you're going to be able to take advantage of that. And that's because of the latest version of the SDK doesn't have the support for sessions for this way yet, right? So that is going to have a lot of improvements on the peak lock operations, because now you'll be able to do those actions from behind the scenes from any client, which means, and that's why we're removing that networking and affinity requirement. So what is the impact on existing workflows? If you have a workflow that is using the existing SB connector, everything is still supported. The actions is still going to appear on your workflow. You'll still be able to change any of the properties for that, but only new actions are going to be surfaced when those new items are created, right? And you cannot mix and match previous and new versions. So if you're making changes and you wanted to start taking advantage of this new SDK, you have to replace all the actions on that workflow. The export tool, which is one of the biggest reasons for the export tool initially, was to support ISE Retirement, is going to continue to generate previous version until all the ISE Retirement is complete and stabilized. And the reason for that is because we didn't want people to having to find out which version of the tool or of the connector I was using. But later in the year, after we finish the ISE Retirement, we're going to be making an update on the tool to start taking advantage of the new ones.
Well, how can Wagner,
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, we do have a question. I'll let you finish the slide, but there is a service bus related question when you're ready to take it.
Okay. So I'll just talking quickly here about how can you identify which versions you're using. So the new versions is going to have like a V2 added to the operation, right? So operation ID complete queue message V2, then you know that is the new version. The old ones are not going to have anything associated. So you're going to have something like a send message. And also the other thing is the new versions is going to have specific operations for queue, topic, and subscription. So in the old one, you probably would see complete message. On this one, you're going to see complete queue message or complete subscription, topic subscription message, right? The last one is like a complete abandon, dead letter, and defer actions. The actions that are really associated to peak lock are going to be requiring now resource name and lock token. Okay. Okay, so we have a question. Yes, so the question from Ben is, just to be clear, does this remove the requirement to keep scale instance at 100%, set static IPs, etc. for peak lock? Yes. So if you're using that, as long as you're not using session, that's what that means, Ben. And I'm going to show you an example here of a logic app, assuming that my internet connection don't dies on me again, that we running peak lock without any networking in place. So quite good point for this one. Let me come back here. So this is a logic app that is using the new the new connector, right? So the first thing I wanted to show is down at the networking. We can see there is no networking configured. right? So if you go back to my workflows, I'll get that pick, lock, and abandon. Just let me quit Teams just in case. Let it load. So this is one of the new queues, right? So when a message is available in a queue with pick lock, then in here we're getting like the queue name and the max batch size. You see when I complete the message, I'm requiring the queue name and now the lock token, while on the previous version was the message ID. Right, so this is the what you're going to see. Just let me add a new item here. I'm on read only on that one, so I'll not be able to add anything. Let me go to the overview. I'll go to open a new page and send a message on Service Bus to see that one running, even though we don't have the there we go, Portal Azure. Okay, so let's go to Service Bus. Queues. The queue on that one is called Template Hackathon. And that was Service Bus Explorer to just send a message for that. So if everything goes fine and my demo gods are still with me, let's take a look. I'll refresh that page. Okay, so we have one running today. Remember that I live in the future, so it's 8:30 a.m. or 6:27 a.m. on Friday. And if you look at that message, just let it load. Logic Apps Aviator's demo. So that was done on pick lock with completing a message, but without requirements for any networking or any static IP or things like that, right? So this is the improvement that we're doing here today for Service Bus. Let me just try to see if that's been loaded. Yeah, my machine is running too slow. It's getting a timeout. So I'll show that one for you guys manually later on. So let me see. So we don't delay anything. Back to our presentation. Yeah. So now we have the templates. Divya, are you back?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you okay.
Okay. If at any point, Wagner, you feel like, my network is not good and things are not looking well, let me know, because I'm having some issues with my network today. All right, so today I want to talk about two of the features that we have recently released. So the first one is template support for Logic App Standard. And templates is a familiar concept probably for most of you. We did have the templates for Logic Apps consumption as well. So this is essentially bringing in similar concept of pre-built workflows to accelerate onboarding to Logic App Standard. Uh, this was released in public preview last week, so you all should have access to this feature now. Uh, in the first release, the scope had been single workflow templates, and by that, what I mean is that in Logic App Standard, as you all know, uh, there is a one-to-many mapping between the app and the workflows. So for the first iteration, we are supporting single workflow templates, which means that the use cases will be limited to templates for within a single workflow. But we do have plans to bring in more complex templates that would span across workflows. So you can think of scenarios such as just for service, we were talking about service bus, right? If you want to have a publisher subscriber pattern, you need two workflows for that. Or if you want to do bi-directional data sync between two applications, B2B and EDI scenarios. So there are many use cases where it makes sense to have them split across multiple workflows uh, for for those patterns. So those capabilities are planned, but for now the scope is single workflow templates. Um, we have released a set of templates that will cover a couple of that will cover design patterns, AI scenarios, as as well as some B2B scenarios and mainframe as well. As you can see, like this is, we've just started on it and we are naturally going to add more templates. But we are also looking for contribution from our community, from our customers who have a need for these templates and patterns and would like to contribute so that overall everyone can benefit from these patterns. The link on the left side, AKMS Logic Apps Templates, is the link to our blog post, which will give you all the details around this feature, uh, as well as a couple of things to highlight. There you will find a link there to give more feedback. So if you have any feedback in terms of features that you want to see, or any specific capability, or on the experience itself, you can give us feedback via that form. Wagner, can you go to the next slide, please? Um, so the other one, as I was saying, that templates is something that will grow over time, and we would love to, get contributions from the community as well. But regardless, if you have a need for a specific template and you do not see it in our gallery, then there are two options. One is, as like I was saying, you can publish these templates. All of the templates that you will see in the experience that I'm just going to show you, they're all available on GitHub. So anyone should be able to contribute. Just create a PR, and somebody from Microsoft would review the PR and just follow that process. The second option is, if you cannot contribute, that is fine. You can share what you need with us, and that would help us look into any common patterns, common themes, or just specifically what you need, and we can see if we can prioritize that and build those templates and publish them. So I will jump to the demo very quickly, but I also want to talk about a second feature. Then we can just do back-to-back demos of both the features. So the other feature that we have also recently announced is around monitoring for Logic App Standard. So as you all know, we had some monitoring dashboards for Logic Apps consumption and ISE, and specifically customers who are moving from ISE to Logic App Standard. Um, we now have this dashboard, which essentially should bring most of the parity between the monitoring capabilities we had for ISE and now for Standard. So these are out-of-box monitoring dashboards that are now available at the scope of Logic App Standard. All the data that is being leveraged to build these dashboards is coming from Azure Metrics, which uses the hot telemetry path, and also some of the runs data is coming in from Azure App Insights. And finally, for visualizations, we are using Azure Workbooks. And the reason we chose workbooks is, one, because it's powerful, it provides a lot of ways to visualize the data, but more importantly, it's very easily extendable. So we want to provide you capability so that you can start with these dashboards, but then extend as per your needs and your business needs. So with that, I'll move on to show these capabilities to you. So let's first look at the templates. So templates, this is a Logic App Standard application. Templates for now are available only for Logic App Standard. We do have plans to bring them to consumption as well. And so you go into the workflows, and now you will see an additional option to add templates for the. So instead of starting from scratch, you can start with the templates. And here you can see that we have a gallery of templates here. Each of the tiles here will show you the title of the template, the publisher for the template. Type here is workflow at the moment. When we have templates for multiple workflows, you will see a different type representing those multi-workflow templates. And trigger indicates the type of the trigger, whether it's a request-based workflow or an event-based workflow or a schedule-based workflow, and so on. You will see the list of connectors that are being used in that template as well here. Now, in terms of filtering, searching through this gallery of templates, for now, we have a limited set of templates, so it's easy. But as this list keeps growing, you have a couple of options here. You can filter this list via the connectors, or you can use some of these categories here to do the filtering of these templates. We also provide a free text search here, so you can simply do a free text search and see what you're looking for. So for now, let's just jump into one of the templates. I think I'll continue the demo that Wagner started for Service Bus. So what he showed you was the runtime behavior of the new actions that we have added. But again, how do you get started on it, right? So of course you can create those workflows from scratch. But the other option is you can come here, and whatever Wagner was showing you is now available as a template. So you can simply click that tile, and here you will get a detailed description for that template, what it does. You get a read-only view of the workflow. So this should give you a good enough idea on, if you decide to choose this template, what are the different steps in that workflow, what it is doing. So as the name suggests, this is a peak lock abandon pattern, which is why you see a peak lock trigger here with two branches, one to complete the message, the other one to abandon the message. There is a second tab here which shows you the list of connectors used here and if you have a connection for it or not. I do not have a connection for it, but the wizard is going to guide us through that process of creating the connection. And then here you have a set prerequisite section as well. So this basically indicates all the things that you need before you can successfully use this template as well as run this template. So as you saw that this template was going to use a queue name, which is why the prerequisite is to have a service bus namespace and a queue for you to get started. Now let's use this template. So here I do not have a service bus connection. So I'm going to create this connection, and I'm using a connection string here, and click on add connection. So now I have the connection created for my service bus. Here I have to give the name of the service bus queue, and let me give test as the name, and then the batch size. So we have a default value for it here, but you can of course change this value to something else based on your needs. I want to create this as a stateful workflow, and logic app service bus demo. So this is the last page. All the steps were configured correctly. We don't have any errors. So now at this point, we can go ahead and create this template. So now the workflow has been created, and this takes you to the overview page from where you can actually go ahead and get started. You can simply kick off that run. But if you just want to come back to the designer and look at that workflow, you can do that here. Oops. All right. What happened here? All right, let me try this. Right, I will try it one more time because I want to make sure that I gave the right queue name there. Queues. Okay, it was test one. All right, let's give it try one more time. Service bus queue. Use this template. I already have the connection now. Service bus queue name. Let me give test one this time. Stateful demo 2. Create. Go to my workflow designer. All right. So as you can see, this is the workflow. Everything that we provided as a parameter is available as a parameter here. Here is the business logic. So you would replace this step with whatever business logic you have, as well as if you want to abandon the message before that, if you want to do any business processing, you can do that as well in where I have compensation logic here. And then you can abandon or complete the message. So that's the idea here, that you can use these templates as a way to quickly get started and build your workflows and your integration applications. Again, want to reiterate that like you saw, we have a few set of templates, but this is definitely an area where we would love to get contributions from you all as well as ideas on what templates are meaningful for you. Any questions on this so far?
There are a few, Divya.
Okay.
Let's see. So the first one was related to like a private repository for templates. So any plans around private mode for organizational templates?
This is something that we have in the backlog. So definitely in our roadmap, But I think if this is something that is very important for you, please feel free to ping us offline and let us know a little bit more around your your requirements around the private mode. I understand what you want to do is have the templates only in the scope of your organization, but just share a little bit more around your use case. Do you want to have private templates because where you would use the existing templates but will make some updates to them so that you can scope it down to your organization, or you really do not have a need for the out of box templates but only need a feature where you can have your own templates and use them within your organization. So any details around this would be helpful. The other information, the other data point that would be useful is when you have this need to have only your own templates, what does your development process look like, right? Are you primarily using Portal for development? Are you using VS Code? Where do you need these capabilities? Do you have a priority, or uh, do you have a specific development model that you use for these templates? So all of that information would be helpful if you can share here in the chat or ping us offline.
Okay, and then there's a couple more related to templates. So the next one is there any documentation or schema published for the Logic Apps template manifest.json format?
Yeah, so we have the blog post that I've shared. If I'm still sharing, let me try to.
Yeah, your screen is still up here.
Okay. So in the blog post that we have, towards the end of the blog post, you will see a link which has details on how you can publish these templates. And this is where you will also find details around the schema for the manifest. Um, yeah, so this is the schema for the manifest, and all the valid valid values for the properties in that manifest.
Okay, and then there's there's two questions that are very similar. One from Ben, one from Mike, and it just is related to VS Code, and if there's any plans to support templates in VS Code.
This is also in our roadmap, but we do want to focus first on Azure Portal and then bring this capability to VS Code.
Yeah, and on the VS Code, Mike, he has an interesting comment here. Just from some of their customers that they work with, they can't use the portal for development, so they can only use VS Code and then deploy through pipelines. So thought I would showcase that.
Got it. Again, from VS Code point of view, like what would be useful is if you can, offline, let us know a little bit more. Are you expecting similar kind of experience that you see in Portal through VS Code, or it's you don't need so much of UX capabilities, right? Direct integration with GitHub or something on those lines. So if you have any more insights into what you're looking for and want to share with us, that would be great. Again, on the blog post that I have a link here for the survey, AKMS survey templates. So if you can fill this and share a little bit more details on what you're looking for, that would be very helpful, and we can touch base with you offline if we need any more information.
Okay, so that's it for the template questions. We do have a service bus question, but we can get to that after towards the end. We'll let you get to the dashboards if you want.
All right, thank you. So yeah, I think we are running out of time, so I will keep this little quick. So recently we have released out of box monitoring dashboards for Logic Apps Standard. So the way you get to them is you go to your Logic Apps Standard app, go into monitoring, and then into insights. And what you see here is a dashboard that is built upon workbooks, which means that you can edit it, you can customize it based on your needs. It has a couple of tabs where the overview tab gives you an aggregated view into the health of all the workflows inside the standard application. So you can look at the runs, actions, and trigger success rate. Right now things are yellow because not everything is 100% in healthy state. If things were below a certain threshold, you would also see things in red here. Why these are to dig into this a little bit more, you can see the numbers corresponding to these percentages, where you can see the number of runs, actions, and triggers that are in successful, failed, or skipped state, and causing this causing this percentage to not be 100%. Again, looking at these, you can also look at the trends for these runs and triggers, where this gives you an idea on how the traffic looks like, and where there are spikes or uh, time duration where things were not working as expected. Once you look, this gives you an aggregated view, a high level view into the health, and then you can go into the workflows tab, which gives you the health of the workflows from two angles. One is just overall traffic and overall health of overall traffic that is being processed from all the workflows. So this gives you a health view into the successful runs. And then the second table gives you a view into the runs, workflows with failures, and again their timeline, as well as whether the failures are primarily originating via actions or triggers, as well as some idea around the timeline of those failures. So with through this page, you should get a good enough idea around the total traffic volume that is being processed by workflows in your application, as well as the workflows that are in failed state. Now you probably want to double click on the failures in your workflows, and for that you would go into the runs tab. When you go into the runs tab, you can then see the list of all the runs for the workflows that we just saw in the previous tab. Here you have a bunch of drop downs, so you can filter by the workflow name. Let's choose this first one. You can also filter by the status of the workflow, whether it's in failed or running or successful state. So I'll keep it to all for now, and you can even filter further by just a client tracking ID, so that you can only look at a specific client tracking ID. Now, as we can see that there are this is the workflow which has runs that are in failed state. If you want to understand more into why it's failing, you can click on one of the rows, and that will give you the actions that are in failed state. Here from details, you can get more details about the action failure, as well as the reason for those failures and the call stack. You can also click on this table to get more dependencies for that. So again, I won't go into the details right now, but the whole idea is that from the run, you can get to the actions as well as dependencies to understand and troubleshoot more on the reasons of the failures. If the failure is something that had been fixed, or it was maybe because of some network glitches or a downstream application that had been down but is now up and running, in those cases, you can come here and do a resubmission for the failed runs. So you choose a run, and then you can do a resubmission of the run from here itself. Finally, for a given run, if you want to look at the run itself to do troubleshooting into the failure, then you can just click on the view in the previous page, and that basically opens up the run that had failed. The final tab here is around the compute tab. So this basically gives you the processing pattern that is for the workflow job, that is basically reading, that is basically used by Logic Apps runtime as it processes your runs. The idea here is that any spikes or any anomalies in the patterns can be of interest and indicate that there is more load than normal scenarios. Next, we have charts here which give you an idea around the compute utilization for your applications by showing you the number of instances that are being used at any point in time, as well as the average memory consumption when corresponding to that CPU load. The last set of charts here are showing you the memory and CPU consumption for the app service plan. So as you're aware that with Logic App Standard uses an app service plan that actually can be shared across multiple applications. So this basically gives you an idea around the load for that app service plan coming in, not just from your app, but all the other apps. So you can holistically look at this and understand whether uh, compute is running hot because of the this application, or potentially other applications that are being shared and used with the same app service plan. So that's all we have here. But hopefully this helps you to understand the health of the applications and then do a deeper dive in and troubleshoot if there are any anomalies or patterns that do not seem correct, or if you have to troubleshoot any failures. I just want to close by again mentioning that this is again an area of active investment for us. We do have a couple of improvements planned here. For example, bringing bulk resubmissions. Right now, you don't see an ability to customize this dashboard, but that is something that we are working on, where you will be able to edit this dashboard and add your own charts and graphs here. Um, but if there is anything else that you would like to see here that is important for you, please do let us know. So
Divya, there's a couple questions. I think they can be quick, and I think they're somewhat related. So the one was, is the plan to use this view for integration environment?
We will be bringing in this view in integration environment as well. Integration environment, however, the scope is broader. The scope will be for Azure integration services. So it would be for other AIS services like Service Bus and API management as well. But yes, the plan is to bring this along with those other AIS services into integration environment.
And then somewhat related is any plans to expand this to run at an aggregate level across multiple logic apps?
So running across multiple logic apps is what integration environment will enable, because in integration environment, in an application, you would be able to add multiple logic apps. And that's where you would be able to then get this view across multiple logic apps.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Divya.
Thank you.
And thanks all for the questions.
Yeah.
Hey all, I'll keep this quick in the interest of time. But there are some demos that you can check out with the blog posts that are linked in the ak.ms link. So this is something that we announced very recently, which is providing the capability to author PowerShell scripts inside of Logic Apps. This is supported for Logic App Standard right now and on Portal. So you'd be able to simply use an inline action, just like how you do for inline JavaScript. But you would do that for inline PowerShell. And we also have one for C#, which is also released, I think, a couple of months back. I've talked to this audience about that. So this is great because now customers don't quite have to provision different resources and end up managing these scripts with dependencies that are not inside of Logic Apps, right? So it makes it just a lot more simpler, cost effective, right? So you don't quite need any other resources and eliminates any additional services, given you can do all of this in Logic Apps. And security as well, right? Because these scripts are going to be running inside of Logic Apps, so you can only focus on that. And ultimately flexibility, right? So you can bring your own custom commandlets and you can put them in the requirements or PSD1 file, right? Depending on what you want to use. There are some that are out of the box we support, especially AZ and those commandlets. So you will be able to do that, right? You just have to go to the developer console, kudu, and just be able to add these files in the requirements file. Yeah, so I have a demo as well in the blog post, which is like a bank reconciliation demo, which like essentially takes in some files at a particular time every day and checks in the VM if they've been processed, automatically shuts down the VM, turns it on when they need to be processed, um, and make sure that it's going to the right location and collected into like the main bank's storage, which is what the partner bank right like starts with when they have a few statements and they end up like wanting to be uh, amalgamated in the main bank's storage. So that's what this workflow does, and the demo is there as well. um, so that's PowerShell. And really quick, another thing to just help you write these scripts would be log stream. So this is an interesting feature. This is like a side panel, which is, I feel like we definitely could do some improvement there, but would love your feedback. So now when you're authoring scripts like C#, JavaScript, or even like PowerShell, you would be able to like find like real-time errors. And actually Python is not there, so that's something that we are planning to have in later time, but not yet. And you could quickly pinpoint these issues, right? Like while you are trying to author the script, instead of looking at the logs and everything, you just have it by your side. And you could also do that same for the workflows, right? Not just for scripts, but it's also like for the workflows as well. And it could identify like lots of scripting errors, I would say. Like in my case, I had like a bunch of syntax errors and even like compilation errors. It was able to figure out, like uh, for example, missing semicolon, missing return statements, or even like if you're renaming like or actually like changing the name of the main method or class, it would basically like pinpoint those errors out to you. All you really have to do is start by summoning the log stream by clicking on this, configuring your app insights if you have not, right? And then author your script, save it, and you'll be able to see, right, like any issues that will be appearing on the side. So yes, for that too, like I have a blog out, and you could definitely check it out and see like if it supports your needs, and if there's something that we're missing in both of these features. Do let us know, especially for the PowerShell one before we GA. Like we would love to hear your feedback. And let me know if there's anything on C# side too, right? Like that was released a few months ago, but we are planning to GA that fairly soon. So that's all I had.
All right. Thanks, Parth. There is a couple of questions for you.
Yep.
Like for the first one is, we'll get my question out. Like, are there plans for this functionality for Logic Apps running on Kubernetes, or is this already supported? So I'm thinking that they are asking that for the hybrid Logic App. So would that be supported on all versions of Logic Apps?
I am not quite sure. I think it is supported on Logic App Standard. I believe that you could run Logic App Standard on Kubernetes, right? So I believe it should be supported, but I have not tested that use case out exactly, Ben. So I could take a look at that and get back to you on that.
We come back to you on the chat later, Ben. Kent would be the first person to answer that, but he had like a hard stop at 7 o'clock. Oh, sorry, at the top of the hour, 7 a.m. for me. The other question is like from the list of languages. What about Java? Is that on our roadmap? What is the story with Java for that?
That's certainly something we'd love to learn more about. We have JavaScript, but not Java. So would like to know more. Like, please feel free to reach out to me offline. Like, I think that's something that like we have not scoped at all for the next semesters. We have heard it, but yeah, like would love to learn more there from you. So feel free to reach out to Logic Apps PM alias. We can discuss that more.
Cool. The last question that we still have here is actually for me. That was from Fran. He was asking if the old service bus connector is going to be deprecated in the future. Should we start migrating that to V2? So I answered that in the chat, but I think that is important to answer it here as well. We're not planning to deprecate that, but they become what we call an internal connector. What that means is If you have that on your workflows, it's still going to continue to be supported and continue to present. So you're going to see that on the designer. You would be able to make changes on the properties, but you'll not be able to create new workflows or new actions with those connectors. If you have a workflow that you have the old connectors and you needed to introduce new actions, then you have to replace all of them in this case. Because of, as you said, those two cannot be on the same workflow. They can be on the same logic apps, but not on the same workflow. And the reason for migrate or not is more about like if the limitations of the previous connector, like around the static IPs, the networking requirement is a blocker for you. In this case, then it would be good for you to migrate, but not because of deprecation. We're not planning to deprecate that. Let me see if there is any other questions. Cool. No, so just the person that asking about Java saying that is going to reach out to you. And I think with that, doesn't seem to have any other questions on the list. So I think we are down for the show today. Thanks, Pat, right? Divya and Kent that was here until up to now. Thank you everyone for watching, right? Like really good to see questions while you present things. And I'll make sure that my internet connection helps me on my next demo. So see you later, and thanks for joining us today.